Well, once again, I'm a very lucky boy because I've got Craig BLIGH here from the Brain Bubble. I knew I was going to muck that up. Brain Bubblegum podcast. And Simone and Scott are not in attendance. They don't have last names, so we won't mention them, their last names. But what's going on this morning, Craig?
Oh, just trying to get things running from a cold, frosty morning.
Yeah. Trying to get yourself running. Just repeat that.
Just about to get my second cup of coffee, I think.
Lovely.
Kick things. But we do have a Brain Bubblegum recording session a little bit later on this afternoon.
It's
we've got Simone popping around. So it's very exciting.
What's been the history of Brain Bubblegum? It's been a little bit on again, off again. Has that been the go?
Yeah, it's a bit of an understatement. So we started the podcast nearly 2 years ago now. And the fact that we only have 10 episodes can give you some kind of idea that we've been a little bit on again, off again. The pandemic kind of made things a little bit difficult to get together. So, we didn't sort of go down the path of, doing the Zoom recordings and those kind of things like a lot of other podcasts did. So, we did the right thing and we responsibly socially distanced. But we're just kicking things off again. So got quite a few more in the can. It's just, as you probably can appreciate, it takes a while to edit a podcast and get one out, especially when there's a lot of source material. And looking forward to doing a lot more.
So I was listening to your Gumdrop, which is your shortened podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It's the short version.
Yeah, so I might just take us a little bit back. So I started out Brain Bubblegum about maybe 7 years ago, and I'm the kind of person who's obsessed with trivia and facts and just really obscure things that make people just sort of go, "Oh wow, I didn't know that," or "I didn't really know that I didn't know that," or "I didn't know that I didn't know that I didn't want to know that," sort of thing. And so someone suggested that, why don't you put it on Facebook? And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? And I thought instead of sounding like a bit of a tool, I thought I'd create my own Facebook page, and I called it Brain Bubblegum. And so I posted a weird fact, I guess, every day for a good 5 years, and then I thought, you know what, I really would love to do a podcast because I think people need to hear more middle-aged white men. And so I grabbed my best mate Scotty from we went to uni together like about 25 years ago now, and Simone was it's one of my wife's friends actually, and one of the mothers at my kids' school as well. So my kids were friends with her kids, and so she was one of the funniest people I've ever met, and I thought she's got to be perfect. So I thought, I'd increase the diversity here and throw Simone into the podcast. But no, because she's just hilarious. It sort of comes back to the fact that I love sharing the history of things, the origins of things, the surprising backgrounds of things that you might not have known. And so the podcast itself is, we sort of try and do one with the crew, and then I like to do sort of one, the Gumdrop, so sort of the origins of things. So that's where that's sort of come from. And I sort of did the Gumdrop as a bit of a filler to, between the main episodes, because they take a long time to edit and put together. And the Gumdrop is just me. So, I just love to go into the history of things, the origins of things. And, so the Gumdrop was born. So, it's meant to be sort of a 10-minute sort of little filler. Sometimes it goes to 15 minutes, but nice and easy to digest, so to speak.
So much effort went into the Gumdrop I listened to this morning. Wow, I was really very impressed. So have you had an interest in broadcasting before, or is this your first foray into broadcasting?
Interestingly, I finished year 12 and I thought, what am I going to do with my life? Like probably many other people. And I didn't know which path I wanted to take. So I think for my university ideas, I had down teaching, I had down chemical engineering, I think computer engineering, or IT. I think I had mining as well, like geology. It was just all over the place. And then on the day that I put my application in, I thought, what do I really love to do? And I really love writing, and I've always been a writer and a prolific writer. And I thought, journalism sounds pretty good. I might try and get into journalism. And what kind of journalism would I like to do? And I thought, I love radio. So I thought I'd get into journalism radio.
Wow.
That's what I went to university for. And of course, I never did anything with it. I haven't become a journalist. I went into technical writing, and then I went into like training and learning and development. But yeah, I've always sort of had that itch that I wanted to get into sort of broadcasting, and I guess podcasting makes it accessible.
Yes, it's been a big thing. When did you get into listening to podcasts?
Oh, I reckon almost from the beginning. I sort of saw
an early adopter.
Yeah, so probably
you're a rare bird, Craig.
Yeah, so I saw I think it was as soon as Apple Podcasts came around, and that sort of brought it to the mainstream. And I thought, it's just easy, and you can find subjects and anything you're interested in. And I don't have a commute anymore, but back then when I did have a commute, you spend an hour on the train or whatever, you just throw on a podcast, and it's just an easy way to spend the time. So yeah, I reckon at least 10 years I've been listening to podcasts.
What do you think was can you remember the first two or three that maybe drew you in?
Yeah, I reckon the first one probably would have been The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. So that was a podcast that was there from the very beginning. And there was a bunch of guys from America and one lady. And they talked about all things sort of scientific and, breaking down, about critical thinking, breaking down myths and things like that, and pseudoscience. And that interested me. So that was the first podcast I sort of got into. And then there was another podcast called Skeptoid, which is like a little gumdrop kind of format, so 10, 15 minutes, which is very easy to digest. A couple of music podcasts, and sort of went from there. I think I've got around about 25 podcasts that I listen to pretty regularly now.
Yes, they're addictive, aren't they? They're very Moorish when you find ones you like. And then you get in that funny situation where you find one you like, and then you realize it's been going for several years.
Yeah,
and then you think, you got to catch up, and then you think, well, this is not good use of a life, but then you do it anyway. And I've gone back on 2 or 3 podcasts in the last few years that have been in 3 figures, and I've went back to the start. And really, I've had to ask myself, what am I doing with my life? But anyway, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable.
You know what? If a podcast makes you go out for a walk just so you can listen to a podcast, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Absolutely not at all. And were you influenced by radio at all as a young chap? It doesn't matter if you're not or weren't.
Yeah, very much. Used to be a big fan of Triple J.
Yeah.
Back when, Triple J was cool, and I guess I've moved on past the demographic these days. But I used to love The Hack, like their news segment they used to put together. So yeah, it was a nice, succinct format, really easy to understand. And, I'm a big believer in clear communication, breaking it down, making it easy for people to understand. And I thought Hack did that really, really, really well. And just explain complex concepts in a very easy to understand format. And so big fan of that.
And so did you feel intimidated when you started podcasting, going up against the big boys in quotation marks, or did you just thought, oh, I'll have a crack?
Probably more the latter, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was a bit. It is a bit scary to put yourself out there publicly. I'm sure you can appreciate that. But yeah, I thought, you know what? I've been doing voiceovers for work for years. Basically because it's just hard to find a good voiceover artist, that you don't have to pay a fortune for. And I thought, I'll just do my own voiceovers for, training videos and things like that. And so I wasn't unfamiliar with the recording process and the equipment and the editing and stuff like that. And I thought, the next logical step is just to put a podcast together. So no, I wasn't too scared. But putting yourself out in the public is another big step altogether. Yeah, absolutely.
What about Simone and Scott? Have they had any history in broadcasting or stuff like that?
Not really. I think Simone was very eager to jump at the opportunity. She's very much an extrovert, and she has been talking to a friend about doing a podcast for many years, I believe. I don't know if that's ever got off the ground, but yeah, she sort of was very eager to jump at the opportunity to do a podcast and get herself out there. And I think she just loves to, she loves to talk. She's Italian Australian background. She's very gregarious, very out there, very outgoing. I think podcast is a good channel for her. She just loves it, I think.
You make a great team. What about Scott? Is he a broadcasting noob?
Yeah, so he's probably a little bit more reserved. It's his first foray into broadcasting and podcasting. But we went to university together. We did the same course, a little bit different. He didn't go into journalism like I did, but he went more into media studies and critical theory and things like that. And we actually used to work on the student newspaper. So so he's not unfamiliar with publishing as such.
Yeah, sure.
But broadcasting is a new thing for him, for sure.
So with so much information out there, how do you pick subjects for episodes, and how do you pull it all together?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because you're right, there is a lot of information out there, and there are a lot of people who are far more clever than me and who have far much more time on their hands to actually do a lot of research and pull together some really amazing resources. So it is really difficult. I guess the thing about Brain Bubblegum is that it's a blessing and a curse in that there's no set agenda and no set topic. It's just the things that make us interested. It's the the facts you didn't know you didn't need to know. So it's useless information, and you can find useless information pretty much anywhere. So that's the great thing about it. But in researching an episode, there's so much information out there, and I tend to be the kind of person who goes broad, and so I'll do a search for everything, and I want to get every perspective and every bit of information, and then I'll edit down. And it's the editing down part that I find a little bit difficult sometimes because there is so much really good information. And so you've got to sort of put your editor's hat on and say, what are people going to be interested in? And just really hone in on that really interesting bit of information. Not always easy. And sometimes, you start recording and it's not that interesting, and you find that the other guys, Scott and Simone, they just don't find it funny, or they just think I'm an idiot for bringing it up. And so you just being the editor is great, because you just cut that part.
That's right.
But,
yes, being the editor is good, and
save yourself.
Yes, no worries. And like, are you guys going to keep going now that you're past COVID and we've killed COVID for good and it's never coming back?
Luckily, we don't live in Melbourne. We're definitely going to keep going. Like I said, we've got a recording session this afternoon, so we'll be doing some recording.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be recording about the Olympic Games. So all the useless stuff you didn't need to know about the Olympic Games. And there's a lot of information there. But yeah, so we're planning to do a multi-part episode on the Olympics, to coincide with the now delayed Tokyo for the COVID that will never happen again. And yeah, plenty more episodes planned. In fact, I plan to release one every month. I think, let's be realistic here.
Sure.
We once said we'll do one every week, but when you work full time and you've got a family and you've got other commitments to do, it's just so hard to, you get home from a hard day of work and, the last thing you want to do is, edit until, midnight or whatever.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's hard, but yes, once a month, I think is probably realistic, and we'll do that going forward.
Once a month will be fantastic. It'll be like a little gem plopping into your podcast feed.
Yeah.
From the Brain Bubblegum team. And you've got a lovely website over there. Also, I was having a look at some. Yeah, it's very nice and clean and lots of fun stuff going on. Are you the main manufacturer of content over there?
I am, yeah. Yeah, so the website is an extension of what I used to do on Facebook.
Yeah.
And sort of like did the little snippets. But yeah, I sort of did Facebook as a bit of an exercise in, I guess, contained writing.
Sure.
So Facebook, you've only got a certain number of characters you've got to get before it gets clipped. And so I sort of started out doing facts that were interesting and give enough information in a very short space of time. But obviously, and I think it's more me than anything else, but you start digging into things and you find that there's more interesting things to talk about. So we used to do bonus bubblegum on Facebook. And so you'd have in the comments, a bonus fact, and maybe 3. So I thought, yeah, let's put that onto the website. So you've got your main fact, and then the website can go into the bonus details as well. So yeah, website will be updated with everything that went on Facebook over the last 7 years or so. But yeah, it's a long process.
Big job. Don't wear yourself out. Yeah, well, I first heard about Brain Bubblegum from our mutual friend Peter Young, and I had a listen and I enjoyed it, and then it stopped, and then I said it stopped, and he said, oh well, they're having a hiatus. Then COVID started, and then Pete and I were chatting again. He said they've started again. I said right. I talked to this man Craig BLIGH, find out his story, and well, I'll talk to Simone and Scott also one day too. And see what they've got to him. See the other side of this story, because I'm only get one side here.
Oh, they will tell you a few things about me, I'm sure.
So where's the what's the socials, Craig? Are you on Instagram?
We do have an Instagram. We don't post to it. Facebook's probably the main place you can find us.
Facebook is the best one. And you do much. What about much tweeting?
We did a bit of an experiment with Twitter a while ago, but it's hard to get followers organically.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. Yeah, we've got a bit of a following on Facebook though.
Facebook so and anywhere you get podcasts, you'll also be able to get Brain Bubblegum and
Spotify, Apple.
All those giant companies are good to get content from. And we'll say thanks very much, Craig, for chatting.
No worries, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem.